Hello, and welcome to Comics Illustrated, episode 6. And today I'm going to take a look at one of my favorite comics um, of all time, and definitely one of my favorite covers of all time, too. We're going to take a look at X-Men number 205 from Marvel Comics 1986. And I remember this cover as a kid. I was 10 years old, going on 11. And I remember my brother had this in his collection because he collected comics. And I mean, look at this. This is like if you're a kid and you see this, it's very different than a lot of other, comic books at the time. All this detail in the rendering and all the wiring and all the I wasn't really aware of Wolverine's origin, the whole Weapon X program and all that stuff. I don't even know if it had really been that well. It was established at that point, but it wasn't like as a kid, I didn't really know everything that Wolverine went through to become, to get the adamantium exoskeleton and all that shit. So yeah, I mean, this cover is great. From an artistic standpoint, it's just beautifully rendered. Coloring also done by the art's by Barry Windsor-Smith, if I didn't say that already. But he did pencils, inks, colors, everything on this book. And I mean, this is just a great cover. One of the things that stands out definitely is the coloring with the lighting of the pink and red lighting. There's purple in the background, and I mean it's just a really cool color palette. There's some strong white highlights in the coloring, and I also really love the way the logo interacts with the artwork. One of the little things, the hand overlapping the X-Men logo, and it wasn't something that obviously it's been done a lot, and it's been artwork has overlapped logos before this, I'm pretty sure, and it has after, but there's just something about this one that I remember just thinking as a kid, it was like the first time I noticed something like that, and that's always kind of a cool little little tidbit to look back on and remember. And I do remember just staring at this cover for hours and just kind of studying it and just taking it all in, and I'm doing that right now while I'm looking at it. It's amazing. And Barry Windsor-Smith, he's a very important comic book artist, and I think that his art should be celebrated and remembered and looked at fondly. So let's get into it and take a look at it. And of course, first thing we start off with is this terrible M&M's ad that was in like every comic in 1986. It's not the best looking ad, but first page starts off and it's people who have read Barry Windsor-Smith's excellent Weapon X storyline that was in Marvel Comics Presents in the early 90s. This will look very familiar. The artwork. This is kind of like the precursor to that storyline, I think. Very similar, color palette, backgrounds, and just the detail and all the wiring and stuff. And this is Lady Deathstrike and Spiral, the mutant Spiral, evil mutant Spiral, is enhancing Lady Deathstrike with cybernetics, the same way Wolverine was enhanced. And she's got a mission for her, and I think it's probably going to have to do with killing Wolverine. Maybe I'm not sure, but that's probably where it's going. But yeah, this is a beautiful 2-page spread, right? I mean, it's not a double page spread, but it kind of is. I mean, the pages go together very, very well. This three vertical panels goes right into this vertical panel, and it's kind of like a double page spread. I love the backgrounds. He just uses just shapes with random colors in it, and it looks cool. This panel is my favorite. I love it. Super detailed. Barry Windsor-Smith was kind of like like one of the godfathers of cross hatching. That I think Jim Lee, obviously picked up some of that because that's a very that cross hatching pattern was duplicated by a lot of artists, and pretty sure Barry Windsor-Smith was one of the first to really start to do a lot of that cross hatching. I'd say Jim Lee was, I definitely influenced by Barry Windsor-Smith combined with like Arthur Adams. I would probably say in Jim Lee's early work, and well, not his early work, not like Punisher War Journal, but his X-Men work, like he was definitely looking at this stuff and a lot of Arthur Adams stuff to kind of figure out some of his little trademarks. So we get into New York, a nice little big panel establishing shot of somewhere in New York City. And this story has one of the kids from Power Pack in it. I'm not a huge fan of Power Pack. I never really was. And I never really read much Power Pack as a kid because I just thought it was kind of corny and like, I was like 10 years old when that stuff was coming out, and it just seemed like it was kind of pandering to kids, these kids superheroes. It just didn't appeal to me. Like I had a much more grown up taste for superheroes like Wolverine and the X-Men and back then I was probably into like Batman a lot and stuff like that. So more serious, I mean, this is 1986. We had like Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns coming out and stuff like that. Watchmen, although I didn't really read Watchmen as a kid. I didn't get into that until a little bit later. So yeah, the story is called Wounded Wolf. Stan Lee presents Wounded Wolf, and this is a great splash page. There's a lot of snow in this comic, which is kind of fitting for the weather conditions we're experiencing right now across the country. And this is a solo adventure starring Wolverine of the Uncanny X-Men. So yeah, this is an entire Wolverine comic, which is cool because Wolverine's awesome, and he was really awesome back then, as depicted by Barry Windsor-Smith. So he's just in his little short. That's weird. He's just in his shorty pants and boots. The shorts usually go over tights, but yeah, he's just in the shorts and boots, and it's cold, so that's kind of an odd choice, Wolverine. Chris Claremont story script, Barry Windsor-Smith story art and color, Tom Orzechowski letterer, he's a legendary letterer, and Nocenti editor, Jim Shooter editor-in-chief. So Windsor-Smith did the story art and color, so I'm assuming he plotted it out, and then Claremont scripted it afterwards, Marvel style, because that's kind of how Claremont worked with a lot of artists. I think he worked with John Byrne and Jim Lee that way a little bit. So yeah, Wolverine he shows up. He shows up. He's not really saying much in the beginning, and the girl's kind of freaking out. And then the cops show up. Because there was shots fired on the previous page. Cops show up. Wolverine's got the girl. They're like, let go, put her down. She's screaming, take it easy, fella. No one's going to get hurt. He's running and call for backups. Oh, so that's a female cop? It's hard to tell. Barry Windsor-Smith, one thing about him is he's got very distinct facial features that he does on a lot of his characters. Wolverine has a distinct look, but like a lot of his characters have a feminine look to their facial features, even the male characters. So it's weird. This isn't a really good story to show that off, but I don't know. He just has a very distinct way of drawing faces, eyes, and nose. Well, basically all the facial features, eyes, noses, mouths. Like he has a very distinct way of drawing those, but yet he makes Wolverine look pretty manly and pretty gruff. So that's he does a good Wolverine. Um, I wish, yeah, I guess there's not going to be a way to really show what I'm talking about, but this is a great little face right here. Like that's a classic. Let me get a focus on that. A little classic Barry Windsor-Smith style. The eyes are kind of really far apart, and the little nose and mouth. I mean, it's a little kid, so I think she's like 5 or 6 years old, so that's fine. A lot of snow and confusion going on. Um, then she's like, he's covered in blood. He's been hurt. So Wolverine's like all fucking cut up and shit, and he doesn't know where he's at. I don't think. I think he's like kind of dazed and confused, and he's in the middle of a snowstorm. Sorry, I'm like off camera because I'm not really paying attention to that because I'm into the comic. I'm trying to immerse myself in it, and I'm not paying attention to the cameras. My bad. There's that face I'm talking about. Like sometimes he'll draw like dudes with a face like that, which is like full lips and stuff. I don't know. But he's a master, and I'm not gonna criticize the man. Uh, Definitely a master illustrator. This is you know one of my favorite comics of his for sure. There's also I think he did he did that Machine Man miniseries, which was really good, and he also did like I think he did an issue or two of Iron Man that are awesome. I'll have to dig those out and maybe do a video on one of those Iron Man comics. So she hails a cab. Stop. And she gets Wolverine into the cab and they're taking off, and then the cybernetic mercenaries of Spiral, and I think that's Lady Death strike. I almost just said Lady Death, which is a whole different character, but Lady Death strike. They're on the trail, and they're like they're right behind them, and they start firing off onto the freaking taxi cab and blow the thing up, and they jump out, and Wolverine, the cab's on fire. Wolverine looks like he's naked here, but he's not. Well, you can see his boot. He's definitely not naked. He's just in his underwear with a belt. And you'll see it soon, but okay. So yeah, they're so fucking Wolverine's kind of starting to come to, but the thing is, he was in like kind of a freaking trance state because he was so beat up and bloodied and stuff that his mutant healing factor was kicking in. So now he's starting to kind of get his strength back. He's raw, and he's just in his underwear and boots with a belt. It's a weird choice. I think they should have had him in just the pant. Like he should have the orange tights on too. It's weird. I don't know, whatever. Or he was probably, I mean, Windsor-Smith, I think Weapon X, he was like naked a lot. So maybe he wanted him to be naked, but Marvel was like, hey, we can't have him run around naked because that's kind of weird. And he's with a 5-year-old girl too, so that's a bad look. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's probably it. All right, so they're running away from the bad guys, and I don't know what they're. It's like Reese, don't. Lady Deathstrike's like, Reese, don't shoot. I can nail him easy. I want that pleasure for myself. Oh, she wants to fucking take him down. So he's too dangerous. He's badly wounded, little better than an animal. Lady, that makes it worse. Oh, that's what Reese says. And then so now they're talking. He's finally he's back. He's kind of back to full strength, I think, and he's basically telling the Power Pack girl that he's got a grudge, a score to settle. I love this panel. Just cool. Look at that cool Wolverine. He does a great Wolverine with the blood all over his face and the hatching. you can obviously where Jim Lee took some of his influence from this comic. Probably this is one of those comics that's probably like Marvel Fanfare number 47, the Michael Golden Hulk Spider-Man story. There's some key issues from the 1980s that influenced all of the Image Comics artists, and I would say this comic is definitely one of them, for sure. And just looking at the way he does cross hatching, you can totally see the Jim Lee influence, or the influence he had on Jim Lee, because this was obviously before that. And these pages are awesome too. So now we're going to get into Wolverine. He's taken out the bad guys, and we're going to get into it with Lady Deathstrike. And so yeah, everyone, her two, there was three of them. So the other two were taken out by Wolverine, and she's going to face Logan one-on-one here. This is a great fight. I love the snow. I love everything about this sequence. This whole comic, obviously, is great. Wow. Okay, 1986 had some great stuff, but it also had it had one big not so great thing, and that was the new universe. 1961, the Marvel Universe. 1986, the new universe. It all begins this summer. It was not well received. It didn't last very long, and probably one of the biggest letdowns as far as like company-wide events or whatever. It was all new titles. It was ambitious. I get that they wanted to like create some new stuff. I think there was a few of them that I remember some of my friends and my brother being into them, but I never really got into it. It's like stick with what gets you to the stick with what got you to be the company that you are. I mean, look at now, Marvel. Still uses all the same characters because there's a reason people love them. Some people say, oh, well, they do the same stories over and over and stuff, but like, it's there's a reason, but yeah, I mean, like, if you're going to do a new universe type of thing, maybe do, and they've done that, like Heroes Reborn and stuff, where they did new versions of the old, of their traditional characters. But I don't know, like a whole new universe of different characters that wasn't related to the established characters seemed like a bit of a stretch for fans to get into it. Yeah, so here's a fight sequence. Love this page. I'm a big fan of the layout, and you got the snow. I even love the background, the way it goes from a blue down to purple, and it transitions like a gradient. And this is like pre Photoshop, obviously pre computer coloring, and for a 1986 newsprint comic, he's handling the coloring very, very well, and everything is just great. But like, look at the detail. Come on, camera. What? The camera's not focusing. There it is. And look at the rendering, the musculature, all the hatching, the detail in the. He does great. The hair, the body hair of Wolverine. He does a excellent job on rendering that. the little things like that, the little details that make comic art what it is. And yeah, I mean, I'm definitely influenced by this man. I don't draw nearly as well as him, but it's definitely this comic is definitely um, one that I've studied and looked at a lot, and then for good reason. You can just go through every panel and look at that close up of Wolverine. That's awesome. The punching, the claw action there, slicing her, blood. They get away with some blood. Is this code? Is this code approved? Oh, you know what? It's not even. There's no Comics Code authority on this, which is cool because I think that's why there's so much blood in it. Which is weird because I'm pretty sure everything was code back then. Comics Code, and Marvel had pretty strict, standards. Yeah, there's a lot of blood on that panel. That's a great panel. I love it. Yeah, it's a little. If you look at it, the eyes are a little wonky, maybe. It's great though. I don't know. I'm not. Look at the blood, spitting the blood out. That's freaking great. This 2-pager right here. Just, yeah, that's awesome. Big fan of that. And finally, he's got Wolverine's got Lady Deathstrike down and out, and I do love he does this in Weapon X a lot in Marvel Comics Presents these vertical panels like this. I like that. I like the juxtaposition of this whole fight scene. Well, not this page, but okay, we get there. Go back there, pen. Okay, we get into the fight scene and he's doing the the cinematic kind of layout, the widescreen format, which was coined. The term widescreen comics was coined many years after this, but Windsor-Smith was doing it before it was even a thing. Brian Hitch was famous for that with the Authority, introducing that widescreen look format, where the panels kind of looked like movie stills or storyboards, and I like that. I use it a lot. I think it's great. Storytelling. There's a hair in there. Sorry. And he uses it here. This is a great fight sequence, and then you turn the page and there's a shitty Care Bears ad which interrupts the flow of the fucking story, but that's okay because then he goes back to the cool vertical panels, and I like that. Very very illustrative stuff here. Look at that rendering, the hatching on that Wolverine face. So he's got Lady Deathstrike down, and he's like talking some shit. And he in the end he spares her life because he's not a murderer. He's not a cold-blooded killer. He'll just fuck you up and leave you laying in a pool of your own blood-covered snow. Last page, he's walking off. I like this panel a lot. It's just cool. Like, it's a cool, it's got like he's walking through the snow. There's like a crane over here, the buildings in the background. This is a freaking cool panel. I like it a lot. And then he meets up with Energizer, who that's the character from Power Pack. Energizer, that's her name. And he told her to like go wait while he fucking beat the shit out of Lady Deathstrike. And he's basically like, did you kill her and blah blah. And he didn't really. Wait, what did he say? Yeah, he didn't really say what. She's like, what happened? Did you maybe? He's like, I won't lie, Katie girl. But he doesn't really say that he killed her or not. So whatever. So anyway, he's like, yeah, let's get you home. And it ends with, takes her hand and they walk off. Come on, little darling. Storm's lifting. Let's go home. And Fiend It's Latin for the end, I think. That right there is that classic Barry Windsor-Smith face, those eyes. Uh, yeah. So great comic. 22 pages of greatness. And here's the letters page. And lots of ads for mail order stuff in comics back then because they didn't have eBay or, there was comic book stores, but a lot of people didn't, even at this time, I don't even think a lot of people knew about comic book stores. There was people that were just buying these things from their local grocery store off of spinner racks and stuff like that. So there was direct market and direct market was already going on, but there was direct market and newsstand versions of comics and stuff. But yeah, here's a weird Power Pack ad. And again, this is why when I was a kid, I thought Power Pack was whack. Power Pack was whack because it was I don't know. It was pandering to children. But this was Power Pack. These messages are brought to you as a public service by Marvel Comics and the National Committee for Prevention of Child Abuse. Okay, wonderful. Wow. Power Pack and the Amazing Spider-Man with tips on ways to prevent sexual abuse. Holy shit. Okay, here we go. Power Pack, this kid. This is fucking weird. Your body belongs to you, and you have a right to decide how and when anyone touches you. Sure. If somebody tries to touch you in ways that don't feel good or seem right, say no. Yeah, and be sure to tell somebody too. Solid advice. And don't forget, if the first person you tell doesn't believe you, keep telling until you find someone who does. And Spidey's over here. And remember, if this happens, it's not your fault. Well, yeah, I mean it's solid standard advice that, you tell kids, obviously. If someone touches you in a weird way, make sure you tell someone. Yeah, but it's just kind of weird that it's in this comic. And there's a thing down here you can order for a special edition Marvel NCPCA comic book about sexual abuse prevention. Send $1 or more if you can afford it. Your donations help defray the cost of NPCA's public awareness programs to Spider-Man and Power Pack. NCPCA PO Box, blah, 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 Chicago, Illinois. Yeah. I did not send away for that comic. But as a child, I probably would have looked at this and thought it was weird. And I'm pretty sure I probably did. I don't really remember this ad at all. But yeah, I do remember this ad, however, because this was like a crazy freaking Hulk PC computer game. Oh wow. I remember this ad. I never played the game because I didn't have a computer at this time because this is 1986. And I'm pretty sure we didn't get our first home computer until 89 or 90. I was in high school. I'm pretty sure of that. But yeah, that's crazy. Discs. It was $29.95 for discs for Apple II series or IBM PC or Atari 800. I don't remember Atari 800. Commodore 64. Oh wow, yeah. I never had a Commodore 64. My neighbors did, and it was a really shitty computer. But oh boy. So yeah, that's Wolverine. I almost said Wolverine 205. X-Men 205. It wasn't Uncanny X-Men. It was just X-Men. I wonder when it changed to Uncanny. I don't really remember. But this was the series that eventually became Uncanny X-Men. And this is a great comic. I highly recommend it. So go out and find a copy. You won't be disappointed. And it's definitely one that I will keep in my collection. And I love it. Quick note about my comic book, Kill Reaver. number 1 by Randy Siplon. That's me. We're up to 48 backers. We're at 1724. So close to the 50 backer mark. And, I appreciate everyone for checking it out. We have the artwork up for the Kill Reaver trading card that everyone is going to get. Everyone who backs Kill Reaver, color cover, $15 plus shipping. It's like $22. And you get the 40-page full color comic that I am working on right now, trying to get everything done so we can ship on time. You get the comic book and a free trading card, just like the good old days of comics when trading cards came with comics, and it was an exciting time in the 90s. Everyone collected trading cards. It's a nice little nostalgic item, and I like the way the artwork and the design turned out. I kind of tried to make it look like one of those classic 90s Marvel trading cards, but added my own little flair to it. And this was fun because this is my first time coloring something digitally in a long time, maybe like a few years. I don't really do digital coloring. I usually color everything with markers and airbrush and stuff, but I did this digitally, and I think it turned out really nice. So I'm excited to start working on the coloring of the actual interiors of the comic book. And I'm going to be coloring a lot of it. I might have someone else helping me out. I haven't figured all of that out yet. Still, working on it. Still hoping to get some more backers to be able to maybe afford to pay some help. If not, I am ready to do all the coloring myself. I'm still working on the artwork, drawing it and stuff. So we're getting there though. And here's a image of the cover to number 1, drawn by me and colored by the great Matt Yackey. He's an awesome colorist. He's done a lot of great stuff. He's worked for a lot of big companies, Marvel, obviously. He's worked for done a lot of Extreme Studios, Image stuff. He's Dan Fraga's colorist on a lot of his stuff, and Black Flag. So yeah, here's some pages from the comic. This is a double page spread, but it's little on here, which is kind of annoying, but there's no way to really make it larger without breaking it up. But here's some more pages. And this was one of the promo images from the beginning, like one of the first images I ever drew. And I colored this one traditionally. You can see there's a little difference in the style, and the look of the characters changed some, but that's the OG. This is the OG look for Kill Reaver, but he's kind of changed a little bit. Here's some more pages from the book. And yeah, I would appreciate, anyone, helping me out back in the book. I promise it's going to be an awesome comic book reading experience. And it's definitely an artist, forward comic book. Back it kind of harkens back to the days when the art was the main attraction. I mean, the story's going to be good too. It's not going to be like a shitty ass story. But that is Kill Reaver number 1, and I hope you guys can back it and help me out. I really appreciate it. And that's it for this video. So yeah, definitely one of my favorite comics. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Definitely subscribe, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. And I try to answer all comments because I like interacting with people who watch my videos, or just comic art fans in general, and other comic artists too. I obviously have a lot of friends who are comic book artists, indie comics, mainstream, all over the place. So that's it, guys. I will see you on the next one, and I thank you all for watching. Have a great day, and goodbye. See ya.